Good evening. Once again for a Monday night bee chat. How are y'all today? We were into bees this weekend and pulled our last treatments and got them put away for the winter. And here's your link for tonight. It is pinned in YouTube. How's everybody today? Mike, Randy, so far you two are the Lone Rangers tonight. Bees are looking good. No real complaints from them yesterday. So they're ready to go for the winter. Starting to design a new bee yard for the new house. So we'll be moving our bees this winter. Hey, Richard. How's things in your neck of the wood, Richard? Everybody hear me okay? Everybody hear me all right? Yeah, they're calling for rain here tonight, too. So it's supposed to be kind of chilly tomorrow, chance of frost. And tonight and tomorrow night. I think it's going to be our killing frost one of these two nights. But we will see. Let's hope not, because I'm supposed to make hay starting Wednesday. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, another 100 gallons feed, that's pretty good. So I'm out of fructose syrup. Finished that up over the weekend. So they'll get fed maybe one more time after the killing frost and see how they take it. I had a couple of them that only took down a half a feeder, and the rest of them were empty. Um, the two that took down a half a feeder are two of my strongest hives, and they're doing very well. How's everybody else's bees doing? Get some conversation going here. Hey, John, I'm glad you can hear me because I never know until somebody tells me they can hear me. How are you tonight? We also expecting cold weather this week, or tonight and tomorrow night. And the air today had a bite in it all day long. It was cold. Even though it was 62 degrees, it was still chilly. Have you had your killing frost yet, Randy? When do you usually get one? When is your... Oh, I know you're cold up there, Mike, because my brother lives in Vermont. He said it's been cold and rainy up there. He lives in Morrisville. Y'all got all your crops off out there yet, Randy? Well, y'all are neighbors, Mike. Yeah, we've got corn and late beans left to go. We're getting ready to plant winter wheat here. Hey, Charlie.
Hey,
How are you tonight?
I'm good.
You sound a little tired.
I am. Well, actually, I am. I'm trying to get my things straightened here. Trying to get everything.
Y'all playing early beans, Randy, or late beans? Who is the honey compound?
What's that?
Who's the honey compound? He said good evening. I'm not sure who that is.
Who's that? Who? The
honey.
honeycomb band?
Yeah.
Oh, that's I'll think of it in a minute here. He lives near me. I think he took your. Didn't you take his address or something? And I forget what it was. That's Jason, Forest Hill area. Did you do a? Did you? No, I guess that was Joey who did a giveaway. I think it was. That's what it was. Hi, Ray, Richard, Mike, Randy, um, John.
Wow.
What's that? Ice on the water buckets?
Ice on the water buckets in the morning.
He's up in Colorado. Now, John, are you north of Brian Flower Street hunting? Because he's out in Denver on the west side of Denver.
Yeah. 52 bushels is not a lot to sneeze at there, Randy.
What's that for beans?
Beans, yeah.
I was watching some of these big guys, and they have these air machines, or like these little fingers coming down to the head. What is that? What is that supposed to be doing?
It reduces head loss. It blows air onto the head, and it keeps the grain up in the head where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Because the new big combines, they're belt fed, not auger fed.
Yeah, draper heads.
Yeah, they're drapers.
I'll be back in a second.
Hey, James. Stone River, good evening. Glad to see y'all in here. Have you got your corn off yet, Randy? Or are you still waiting for that to dry? Wow. I could only wish for 400 acres of good corn. What are you testing? Oh, it's testing 17% moisture. Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, there's always something to do on a farm, James. Always. So who's got honey left to take off? Anybody?
What's up, Bill?
Well, I was just asking if everybody's got their honey off by now.
I would hope so.
I would hope so too. Yeah, they're calling for frost down here tonight, tomorrow night.
Yeah, my son just came in and they're doing beans today. That's averaging, I don't know, between 50 and 80 bushel an acre, depending on where they're at. But some of the beans are black. There's, I don't know whether it's too much rain or drought or what. So, anyway, yep. I went out Saturday myself, Saturday afternoon, checked the last 3 feeders I had on, and they had drained them dry. So I went ahead and pulled them off and let them get any honey off the bottom of the top hive here's where they put wax and everything.
Yeah.
And then I had some instant reducers. They were 4-inch ones, and hey Rodney, and hey Sandy. So anyway, I made up another 8 more entrance reducers that are 4-inch openings on them, and stuck them in um, the hives that didn't have anything.
Hey, Sandy.
So anyway, that's where I'm at. I mean, you might say I'm done for now. I'll say till maybe next month.
Yeah.
You know,
We were in
and
this weekend and fed last of the fructose syrup. We had a couple hives that only drank about half of it. And those are my two strongest hives. And then all the others, of course, they were sucking it down as soon as we were putting it in. So, but I think this is probably the last feeding. This one
yeah,
here.
I'm done. It was the high today was 50, 58, 59 degrees, and then it got cooler again. And it's pretty much that way all week, except for the weekend. It might be in the 70s by the weekend.
And that air today had a bite to it. There's cold front
Mm.
coming.
Hey, David.
Hey, David.
Rodney's got another bee tree removal.
Yep.
Have fun. You can have that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess the next thing I'll be doing is probably next month when it gets about 45 degrees, and hit the highs with some OA vapor. Start doing that. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I went and drove them around the beehives this afternoon, and they weren't really flying much. They were kind of right at the entrance, and that was about it on some of the hives. Some of the hives you didn't even see anybody. They were all inside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if it's not raining tomorrow and it's above 55, I'm going to put those AP tablets on tomorrow.
put the what on?
AP tablets.
Oh, yeah, those are on there all right. They've been chewing on them. I pulled one while I was taking the well, Brittany, where are you located at?
Yeah, really.
You must be in the south.
Gotta be. Are leaves up there changing, Charlie?
Some, a little bit. They're starting to.
Yeah, they're starting to change here too.
Yeah, we went up yesterday in the morning and went up to Alabama. Now you're down the deep south. Um, we went up to the Oktoberfest, Color Fest, they call it, up in close to Frederick. Can't
Yeah.
think of the word town.
Mount
Thurmont, I
Airy.
guess.
Mount Airy.
Thurmont, I think it is.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, it was an okay thing. It was oh, I don't know. It a lot of vendors and stuff. A couple beekeepers there. One that I figured would be there. He's a commercial guy that works all the different fairs. So Sandy almost got almost 55, huh? Yeah, I think the weather person said something like 40, 43 or something like that out your way on the map there. And all she's out in let's see, what is it? Allegheny County there. She's out at the lake. She's out there at Wisp where the ski lodge is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got them southern bees. You got to be
Yep.
50 degrees or more and they'll come out. It's 51 degrees right here now, Sandy.
It's 49 in the valley. In
Yeah,
Shenandoah
Garrett.
County.
She's out there in Garrett County.
Oh, good Lord. You're out in God's country.
She's right there next to West Virginia.
Yep.
And all that. But I thought that's what they said about your area there. Shenandoah Valley. Everybody wants to go to huh?
They got a pipe sunshine in here every now and then.
You guys are always, Dad always talked about you guys farming wise were always 2 weeks earlier. You'd be cutting hay 2 weeks before we ever do for some reason. I don't know whether it was where the location was, it was warmer at that time or what.
I don't know. I know we don't put anything in the ground till after the 15th of April.
Hey there, Tom and Melissa.
52 degrees.
Out there in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yep. I hope it's like that when we go to Nobby. Because last year it was fairly nice out there.
It wasn't bad. Until I stopped at Sandy's house. And
the snow caught up with you.
The darn snow caught up with me.
Yeah, but see, you went through West Virginia. That's why I caught up with you.
Well, I went through West Virginia, and we hit a snow squall ever so often. We went across the thing.
That's why I won't go that way.
And anyway, came into the Maryland there, and it was coming behind us, and we stopped and seen Sandy, and we talked. Well, you know how I do. I get to talking too much sometimes, and anyway, we got out of there. It was snow-covered roads, and finally got back out to the interstate and followed the snow plows till we got past Frostburg, where the snow line kind of quits. So, I don't know, something else.
Yeah, we're supposed to cut hay Wednesday.
You're going to cut hay?
Yep. Haylage.
Haylage, yeah, that's what I was thinking. You're going to get that dry. But I did see some people out there. I don't know when they cut it, but it's freshly round baled. It looked pretty good. Wasn't haylage, that's for sure. So anyway, but that's where I'm at as far as I'm kind of, I'll say, done for the year for the most part.
Yeah, we're winding down. So
other than doing some OA throughout the winter, a couple times a month through February, if the weather gets, I always try to do it when it's about 45 degrees. I used to do it at 48, and but the bees would kind of fly a lot.
Yeah.
And hey, Tiny Creek. And anyway, I find that 45, the cluster is still loose. And there we are, Tiny Creek. That's Andy from South Carolina. I got to update my spreadsheet list.
Part of South Carolina you from, Andy? Yeah, we go to South Carolina every year for Thanksgiving down at my brother-in-law's house. Go get away.
Whereabouts in South Carolina?
Murrells Inlet.
What?
Murrells Inlet.
Oh, on the shore.
Yeah, we're a little south of Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
it's a good vacation, especially that time of year. No crowds, no tourists to speak of, and it's not hot. It's just right.
Start you doing your corn yet, or is it still not dry enough?
For me,
Hmm.
no, it's not dry enough yet. We're getting ready to plant some winter wheat and going through the combine and getting that ready to go for soybeans.
Yeah. Hey, Danny. Um,
Always something to do around here.
hmm Hey, Hope. I think he must know where you're at down there. Merle's Inlet.
Yeah, I know where Garden City's at.
Hey, Doug. OA again this week, and then wrapping for the winter. Um, how many treatments of OA have you done, Doug, so far on that? Of course, it's about what is there's the backbone.
Yep, the backbone's ringing. Hold on.
Let's see. Done 2 of them so far. Okay. And then Doug, it's about what? I don't know. -2°C, 28 degrees right now. Something like that, maybe. I know it's cold up there from what Brad said.
Nothing important. I was hoping somebody was going to give me that $1 million order.
Yeah, John, that's about right. December the 26th. Then you're always thinking about what are you going to get ready for next year? What are you going if you go out to Nobby? Like I know, like Brian out there at Flower Street, he's planning his Christmas list of what to buy or pre-buy or whatever, and all that. Um, +10 during the day and -4. -4 is 25, about 25 degrees Fahrenheit, and then 10 is 50 degrees.
Yep.
And all that. So, and then he's going to wrap. He stores his hives outside and all. So, oh, I know what I want to ask you, Doug, is one of my clubs is going to have Bill Hirschbeck here this coming week, who does a talk about insulating the hives, and he a big proponent of putting a insulated top on or shim on. I would say the best way to describe it. I was wondering whether you guys, I know you're using migratory, but I was wondering whether or not you're insulating the roofs of your hives since they're outside and you guys go super cold up there and all. Anybody else in the chat do that and all? I haven't done it yet. I've thought about it. I've got some old candy boards here. I think I might buy some insulation, if it's 1.5 to 2 inch, and cut it so it fits right inside that stuff real tight. I know that Darren from the Pennsylvania Beekeeper, he does it. Got it in January. Yeah, of course, you're down in Alabama.
Yeah, that's a whole different set of rules down there in that tropical climate like that.
Well, Randy, you say it's R20. How thick is I guess it's styrofoam. Did you use a 2
Closed
inch?
cell, it's about 1.5 to 2 inches. If it's open cell, it can be pretty thick.
Making mead. I don't know if anybody really has a good video on that.
There's a lot of them out there, Chad. A friend of mine makes mead here locally, and that's how he learned to do it, was off of one of the sites. And he's applying for his ABC license so he can start selling. But yeah, there's a lot of them out there on YouTube. You just gotta pick and choose and research the author and everything else before you get started.
I mean, I don't know whether beekeepers are really into that or more or less people who do like microbrewing and that kind of stuff in their house.
Well, this guy's a beekeeper.
Mm-hmm. Randy does 2 pieces of 2 inch, so it's 4 inches thick. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I think it does work well. I mean, from what I've read and viewed the illustrations where you have the top insulation creates a heat dome and the bees kind of go up there. Tom says there's a bunch of keepers out there that do it.
Yeah.
And Brittany said they caught her off guard. Started in February. Hey, Matt. I know that one of my beekeepers in my club does mead. But it's like all that stuff. You have to let it ferment, I think it is for.
Yeah, you got to let it ferment or else it won't taste right.
It won't taste right.
And then there's an 8-minute recipe out there. Don't do that one.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
How's the knee going today? You're about 1.5 miles walking now? Oh, Sandy, you were saying you were wrapping your hives. Are you wrapping the outer walls also with insulation? I've never done that. Main thing that I do, like for the hives right behind me that are open to the wind, I take old carpet I get from carpet layers and put the fuzzy side of the carpet towards the hive. And I just kind of make, basically it's a windbreak. That's all it really is. It can be 6 inches away from the side of the hive. but it keeps the. So you saying he did wrap the outer walls? Yeah. The carpet that I use, it's just a windbreak. It goes from the ground up, and the side walls of the boxes, they could be 4 to 6 inches away from the carpet. It just for me, I mean, it's like standing in a windy day and then jumping or moving in behind a building where the sunlight's coming in on it. And it's like, to me, it feels like it's 20 degrees warmer. I think it
Anytime,
helps.
anytime you can get the wind off of them, it's warmer.
Yeah, I think it helps just as well as insulation. And then that's one thing that Bill's talking about this coming week on this here Zoom meeting. I'm not going to be where the side walls are normally a little cooler, so they um, condense the water so the bees can actually suck it up and drink it and utilize it to thin out the honey. Oh, let's see. Tiny Creek, they said, going to start working 7 days a week, 13 hours a day for a month. My man, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't think I can handle that. I got to have at least a day off.
Brittany, the best advice I can give you is follow what the surgeon tells you to do and find a good rehab facility where you can get your physical therapy done.
Yeah, and I have to say that I know my brother-in-law has had hip surgery, and it's way better than what it used to be when they originally started doing it.
Yep.
They don't cut the muscles; they spread them, and your recovery is cut. I'm going to say cut by 2/3.
Yeah.
I mean, when he first got one done years ago, he was getting up out of a chair, and I didn't think I was going to have to help him, and he got right up out of the chair, and I couldn't believe it. And then when they originally did that stuff years and years ago, the recovery was a year or more. And then it really didn't. They had cut the biggest muscles in your body, and people still didn't get back the way they once did.
Yeah, that's how they used to do knee surgeries too, replacements.
Now, Mac there, Tom, he just had knee surgery. What's it been, Tom? A week or two? I know he's doing some physical therapy. He's doing some walking. Last week, he finally got up to 1 mile. So, eased into it real.
Yep. He's done very well.
Eased into it to strengthen the muscles, I guess you would say. It's been 4 weeks.
Yeah, the day I had surgery, they replaced mine. They got me out of bed. I walked around the loop around the hospital floor I was on. They put me back in bed and told me not to bear any more weight on it for 6 weeks.
So is that what you did, Bill, as far as stay off of it completely?
Yeah, right. Sure.
Yeah, right. Didn't push any clutches or anything like that, right?
Yeah, right. Never climbed any stairs or nothing like that.
It's like my brother. He had what was it? He had to get his the shoulder thing. What's that called? It's where that ligament
Rotator cuff.
rotator cuff. That's it. Here comes Tom.
Hey,
There he
Tom.
is.
Hey, Bill, Charlie.
So you're up there to a mile or more now?
Yeah, I'm trying to get as far as I can without pushing it. Yeah. What the heck's going on here? Oh, I forgot I had my phone on still.
Well, Tiny Creek, I'll tell you something. I am sure glad that or Andy actually. I had to look at your name. I haven't got you on. I haven't got you in my head yet. But that really makes it. It makes me feel a lot of good that that these talks do help everybody out, and and even some of the other folks that come in occasionally, like Ian, that come on my channel or something, where you get into some really deep talks with him. That's that's the kind of stuff that I like, about whatever he's doing and stuff. And I'm just glad that that people are getting something out of the benefit, getting beneficial out of this stuff. Hey,
Yeah,
Brad.
that makes it all worthwhile doing this.
Yeah.
I typically put my fondant on a piece of wax paper directly on top of frames.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt.
The inner cover.
Yeah, Matt, don't put it above the inner cover. You got to remember one thing. Well, Fred, as far as Fred Dunn, if that's what he does, my personal thing about it is he's wrong. But
I agree.
You want direct contact. You want that stuff right where the heat's at. So all they got to do is move 1/8 of an inch, and the food's right there.
Yeah.
They're not going to come out of those combs and then kind of come up, like they do in the summertime. They're up through the hole and they're hanging out on the porch, you might say, on the inner cover. They're not going to do that in the wintertime. They want to keep down in there where it's warm. That's something that that this Bill Heshbeck, you can look him up on the YouTube. He's got some things. It talks about insulating the top of the hive where it creates a heat dome let's see, it was Darren, the Pennsylvania beekeeper. He showed us on one night on my channel, I guess it was. He took basically it was a quilt box of ones, and I'm going to take a candy board. Basically, it's a box the same size as let's say a medium box, far as the physical outside configurations, where it's actually fits on top of the top hive. And let's say it's only about 3 inches, I'll say, deep, and it has a 1/4 inch piece of luan on top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 2-inch piece of foam insulation board, and push that down in there tight to the top to that luan board. And I flip it upside down. Now I've got about 1 inch. I'm going to have at least 1 inch to 1.5 inches of gap there. So I can raise that up, throw a piece of fondant in there if you need to, or a pollen pounding in the spring, or a sugar brick if they're getting low on food, and put that back down on there. It holds that heat inside that hive so those bees can move and go up. And I talked to Bill Heshbeck at one of our meetings up here in Maryland, and he says that you have to watch it. Those bees will be up and they'll cling to that insulation. He made a mistake not looking, and here's 3 pounds of bees out in the snow up in New Hampshire.
Yep.
So he said he recommends like a hardware cloth screen to keep them down below. But now, I mean, I never could understand that, feeding wise, is if you're going to put that, I call that emergency feeding, put that directly onto the frames and stuff, so they can access it immediately. They don't have to go out of their comfort zone where it's warm.
So I was pretty much
where are you located at, Morris?
He's up at Chicago. Oh, where's he at? Matt's at
Northern
oh,
Ohio. Is that?
no, he's not. Let's see, I'll find it here in a minute here. Morris Homestead. He's in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
Close to
Really
Buffalo.
northeast.
He's up in cold country.
Yeah, it's even colder up there where I'm at.
Rochester.
Hey, Danny, I'll get back to you in the morning about that order. If you got to look and see what kind of stores they got before you start feeding fondant. If they've got plenty of stores, let them go for a while on the stores. If they don't have any stores, then you need to start feeding, and I'd be planning on feeding fondant about once a week. So you need to be careful when you do it, because right now is not the time to be feeding fondant unless they have no stores. Then you're going to have to feed once a week.
Now, Matt, I think you've been feeding Sugarwater here, I believe. They still be taking that, I think.
Yeah. We're supposed
I'm
to
not
get
sure.
a cold week, but it's supposed to warm back up later on this week, and next week it's supposed to be pretty warm. So I'm sure he'll be getting similar weather, just not quite as warm.
I
But
see
probably
that.
up to
Is that
60s.
a new picture there behind you there, Matt, Tom?
Yeah, that was
see you
my
got your
early
buckets on there.
October picture with all my buckets on top of the hives. Now I do things a lot different than everybody else does. And I put a video out YouTube this week. And I'll be actually shaking all my bees down into singles this weekend. And I don't put any honey above them. None.
Hmm.
Because I know, I've been doing this for 6 years now, that I insulate the top. I insulate the bottom of my hive and insulate the top of my hive. R20 on the bottom and R30 on the bottom or more, and R20 on the top. And then
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
make sure in the center that queen has one good frame that she can lay on, maybe 1.5 to 2 frames that she can lay on right in the middle, and everything else around her will be honey frames. And I put a shim on top, and then around Christmas, when we have a 50-degree day, I'll pop a sugar brick on there for the February time frame, since our first trees to bloom is at the end of February. And
Yep.
what happens, if people don't realize this, that these bees, since there's no ventilation on top, get a large buildup of CO2 inside that hive. And those bees will go into a coma type state, and they will not even have to eat. Their metabolism goes way, way slow. And they basically don't eat. Some people discover them in February when they open the hive up, and the bees look like they're almost dead. But they're not. They're CO2 too. And let them fresh air for a half an hour, and they all wake up. Well, that's how I overwinter all my hives. So I don't put any honey above them. I give them a sugar brick as late as possible of the early winter that I can, just for that last month in February to March.
Yeah, I know that CO2 also has something to do with the mites too, about killing them or something.
Yeah, I think it does that too. That's just a bonus.
I don't know whether
the scientists are just starting to figure this out.
Yeah.
That's almost the same thing we do, Tom, except we don't insulate them that heavy.
Okay.
Because we don't.
I built my bottom stand that way, and then I just put insulation on top for the winter time.
We don't have to insulate here in the valley that heavy.
So. Yeah. We'll get down to 0, -10. We'll have 2 weeks of that weather in my area.
Yeah, we might get a day or two, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't think Danny can see the private chat, Bill. I think it's only for us.
Yeah.
I think that's how that works.
And actually, Bill, I was going to order about 300 frames probably this coming week.
That's fine.
Okay.
See, everything Acorn is coming directly to Nobby, and that's where I'm picking it up. Is at Nobby, so it would be for pickup at Nobby. If you order them and you want them shipped, it'll be after Nobby.
Yeah, I'll pick up at the Nobby.
Okay. So there's 50 deep or medium frames.
There's 50 deep in a case and there's 72 in a medium case.
There's 52 in a deep case and 72 in a medium case.
50,
Okay.
I think it's 50 deeps in a case and 72 mediums in a case.
Yeah.
I
So I have
believe.
to order 6 cases.
Okay.
Yeah, check your website, Bill, because there's
Yeah, I already did.
there's multiple out of stock things, I think.
There is, and it wasn't supposed to be that way. So the young lady that set the website up made a huge mistake on that. It wasn't supposed to be out of stock. I didn't change it. Well, no, I can't change it here, but
That's your web person.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, what was your Varroa treatment idea, Tom?
Well, I can't quite give you details yet, but I am moving. I am moving forward on it. I know how to stop a mite from a female mite from breeding temporarily, and I can keep her from breeding for 2 weeks, 14 days. And during that time, she will not enter into a cell to reproduce because she can't reproduce. So after 14 days, you hit them with oxalic acid vapor and you kill 99% of the mites because there's no mites on the cappings. All the cappings at the start of the treatment are mite free. So I just have to wait for the past cappings to emerge out. And I do it with a no chemicals needed. And you can put it on any time of the year with anything you want on your beehive. I don't care if there's honey on it. I don't care if there's fondant on it, because it's an inert material, substance, recipe. And I've been testing it now for two and a half years. And it works. And Todd from Loma Vista did a big test for me this year for his area of the country. So I actually now been testing in a couple different environments, different parts of the country.
Randy says, "Tell us your secret."
Yeah. Randy knows it. Well, not him, another couple people know it. 2 scientists and Bob Beanie knows it. That's who I talked the idea about a couple years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Todd's saying it's really interesting stuff.
Well, it sounds interesting.
And he had my old recipe, so I actually modified the recipe since he did his test.
Huh.
Unfortunately, my knee placement at my test data wasn't very good this year at my place. So I'm thinking about putting some literature out at Nobby to hand out to people, but I haven't, or maybe even some samples, but I'm working on that.
Nancy, you've missed a lot.
So everybody's been trying to kill the mites. I said, you have to use chemicals to kill a mite or something pretty harsh. Or why don't we just change that she can't reproduce a mite? And actually, some of the scientists in some of the books actually told me the answer.
Really?
Yeah. They didn't even know they didn't even know they were giving a solution when they were giving their speeches.
I wish there was a way to make them sterile, and then
Yeah,
they pass the same DNA down the line. So if you made one group sterile, they would pass that on, and then they'd all be sterile.
yeah, I don't mine doesn't my treatment doesn't do that. It just temporarily blocks her from being able to reproduce. And once you guys find out what I'm doing, you guys will be shocked how simple it is.
Yeah. How you going to patent it, though?
Well, that's the problem because anybody can, once they crack one open and see what's inside of it, they'll be able to reproduce it pretty easily.
Randy says little rubbers.
I thought about just letting everybody know just because it's going to be hard to patent. It's going to be hard to stop anybody doing the same thing I'm doing once they take one apart. Got a package open. Yeah. Todd's sword of secrecy.
Why is your coming up? That's weird. I posted the message and it comes up Bill's channel. There we go. There. I guess I got to do it on that side.
There you go. So what's everybody else been up to? Just surviving? Nancy wants to know what platform.
It was me, Nancy, not Bill. I don't know why. I guess I'm a guest and it posts under your logo or something.
I don't know.
I sent you an instant message, Nancy, through Messenger.
At least Randy Oliver tells all. Sometimes Randy tells too much.
Yeah.
So, true.
Actually, one of the speakers that actually clued me in on it was actually Mr. Ed. Jeff.
Good night, Sandy.
Good night.
One of Bob Beanie's scientists that he had on mentioned it, and then Mr. Ed mentioned it. And I go, oh, they're onto something, and they don't even know they're onto something that I knew about being an engineer.
Night, Brittany.
Now, you know, you're saying all this. I'm going to have to go back and watch a bunch of videos and figure it out, right?
Well, I haven't posted any videos on that product yet. But I was thinking about doing it this year, but it's a little bit too late already. So I do still use acylic acid vapor on it, or dribble, but vapor would work better because there's mites all throughout the whole box. Who knows where they're at? Actually, I had one on the outside of the box because it didn't know where to go on one of them. So that's the first time I saw mites outside going out, leaving the box.
Night, Todd.
Which isn't a bad thing.
See, now you've given me something to do the rest of the week.
So
Now I'm going to have to figure it out.
yeah, there you go. I gave you a kind of couple clues.
Yeah, you did. Like I said, I'm going to have to go watch a bunch of videos now.
Maybe I can tell you the first of the year at Nobby.
You have to tell me. You have to come by the booth and tell me.
Hey,
Well,
Jack.
I'll go. go add on to a speaker that's talking to a similar subject about treatment and all that. Maybe get with the man.
Yeah, see, I don't get to see any of the speakers.
I don't know yet. It will be easy to create the product.
Was it Lewis Bartlett on the Bob Benny video?
I think it might have been. I couldn't remember who it was, and I tried to go find it again, and I couldn't find it.
Just remember the nose ring.
But they're probably, yeah. I don't know if he would, if that was the right one. It might be. I don't know if people would pick it up. The comment he made.
Hey, Jack and Danette.
Yeah, I don't know. Gosh, because when I first heard it, I didn't put anything really to it. I just kind of remembered his comment, and then when I heard the comment again, or in a similar way, then I started looking into it. Then I started learning more about what a mite is. So that's birthday. Oh
Danette.
man.
I found it.
No, it wasn't him. It wasn't him. It was an older gentleman.
Down in Georgia. Was it Keith Delplane?
Yeah, I have to find out someday.
Happy birthday, Danette.
Hey, happy birthday, Danette.
Greg Rogers. No, he's down in Asheville.
And I think Bob only had him on one time. And he's probably almost as old as Bob. He was I can't remember who it was. It was probably from like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, in one of those YouTubes. Because even once I kind of figured it out, it took me a while to figure out how I could do it. But it works. And I think it works in 95, if not 100% of North America's landscape. There might be a couple of exceptions, but not many. Oh, well, that's enough.
Enough influence, huh?
Yeah. Oops.
You got a roof over the bees, DC. That's good.
DC's out there in
Washington State.
Yeah, where there's a lot of rain.
Yep. It's not a bad thing to do, especially if you get a lot. You're in an area where we get a lot of rain.
Yeah, I'll let people know in the near future. I think everybody will know by next summer, next bee season. It will change. Hopefully in 2 years, mites won't even be a conversation anymore. That's my goal.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. I agree with you there as far as humidity goes. Formic Pro for sure. And I'm sure that Apricot's the same way.
Yeah, I think the lower the humidity, the better it works.
Um,
Like,
yeah, I was just
Yeah, that's DC because now I'm working on it. But during the off season. So I'm looking for a packaging company right now to make a nice little package for me.
oh, there's plenty of them around if you got the money.
Yeah. And I just need a little sample right now, not a full production run.
what's that for your secret service?
Yeah,
Secret sauce.
yeah, secret sauce. It is
Yeah,
a recipe.
sauce.
There are a couple ingredients, few ingredients in it.
Until the EPA gets a hold of you.
Well, the EPA won't care one bit. Nobody, not with the materials I'm using. That's the best part about it. And you can leave them in the hive. You can take them out whenever you want to take them out. Once you put them in, next time you go into that hive, take them out. No damage leaving them in. They'll propolize it. That's for sure. So it'll look like a Formic Pro strip, kind of, when done. And you'll put probably two of them in, maybe three for a double deep. A single, you probably only need one, but maybe two. Doesn't hurt to have two, since it's an inert materials.
Well, Brian, that their pumpkin festival didn't look too well attended at all. Of course, maybe they were all out catching pumpkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. That picture he sent.
There used to be a pumpkin festival somewhere in Ohio where they had they used to shoot pumpkins out of cannons and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, that's just north of where I live. They go nuts about Halloween. They have corn mazes, whole 9 yards. Shuts down the whole area that you're trying to drive through. That Ross, Ohio area. Crazy. I guess our area is a good area to grow pumpkins.
Yeah.
Pumpkin chunkin. Nancy's got it.
Yeah, on the eastern shore of Maryland, they had the pumpkin cannons. They would shoot them a couple miles. They had one there one time, and one of them damn things blew up or something like that. It hurt some people.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
So it's just getting started, huh, Brian? Okay.
Yeah, it's a Monday. That's why everybody's tired, and it's been a 4-day weekend. So everybody's been running around like chickens with their head cut off all weekend, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been bottling this week, getting the rest of my honey all bottled up to deliver out to the stores in the near future. I have a theory. I don't like selling my honey all at one time. Since I have retail stores selling it for me, I try to have honey all year round. So during the late spring, when nobody has honey on the shelves, my honey's still there. And they start buying my honey. And then when other people put their honey there, they keep buying my honey because they're used to buying my honey.
How much honey do you produce, Tom?
About 1,000 pounds, 1,500 pounds. This year I was a little lighter. I mean, I run 24 production hives, and I get somewhere between 70, 80 pounds a hive. So it can be up to 2,000, but I've never had all four running at one time. I've always got one or two or three down for one, or you know what I mean, just not producing. That's one of my goals this next year, to have at least all 20, my 21 main ones, all up and running at a high efficiency. And I should get close to 2,000 pounds.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I hope we get 1,500 next year.
yeah, anything over 1,500, I'll be really happy. Because I want to. We got a local grocery store, two of them, and I want to put honey in those. And they want to be able to put honey in there all year round. So it's a little bit bigger commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can average, I got 16 hives. If I average 80 pounds per hive, it'll be about almost 1,300 pounds. So we'll see. It's like this year.
Same math. I'm just running with 21 to 24, depending on. Should be 24 hives, but I've never had 21 yet. That's producing honey. I have always somewhere between 40 and 50 hives, but most of them are nukes and stuff like that I'm selling, not producing honey. So my resource hives, which I'm always stealing brood from, queens from.
Yeah, but you know something I've found with my nukes is that I'll put a queen excluder on them and I'll get 10 to 15 frames of honey off of each one of them nukes.
And that's good.
Yeah, a box, yeah.
Well, I use honey you didn't have.
What's that, Bill?
That's 100 pounds of honey you didn't have.
I forget how many nukes I had, but this year I got something like 15 or 16 5-frame medium boxes off of it.
Right.
And I didn't have all of them have honey supers on them. And I'm like, after this year, it's like, you know what? When I super up my 10 framers, guess what? I'm going to be supering up my nukes and all.
Right.
And all that. So, of course, now this coming year, I might be pulling, like you say, a lot of resources out of them but I figured I'll be doing that in early spring, getting cell builder started and stuff like that. And that'll keep them from swarming anyway.
Right. Well, I'm to the point now where I don't have to take so much brood from my honey production hives to support my nuke sales. I have my own nuke population behind my barn that's for all my nuke sales and all my 3 horizontal hives.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I have a better chance of at least having 21 good honey producing hives. plus they have the 3 hives. Well, I can tell you that Sterling leak we had, 2 out of 4 hives are dead, and the other 2 are alive, but they were down to 2 to 3 frames, 2 frames of bees, 3 frames of bees with a queen. So I don't think they're going to make it through winter because they got the resources, but they don't have the bee population.
Combine them.
My hives are 1.5 miles from that leak, dead north, and they're quarantined off a half a mile. And I don't live. I live like 5 miles away, 6 miles away, so I couldn't see it. But the locals there were telling me, and my neighbor, where I have my bees, telling me that Sterling cloud went all the way up, at least 7 miles up the valley towards Dayton. And the news and agencies that all cover all that said, "Oh no, it only leaked out a half mile." Yeah. And I had checked those bees 1 week before the leak in my surgery, 2 days before my surgery, and they were all healthy as can be. Actually, they were looking really good. I didn't even need to feed them anymore. They were looking that good. So I basically lost those 4 hives. By spring, the last 2 will be dead. I thought about combining them, the 2 hives into one, but I said, no, I'll just wait till next year. They might make it. You never know. Yeah. I think they're trying to do another Palestine, Ohio, down where I live, but it didn't work. Mother Nature helped a lot. Didn't explode. So that's about all I got.
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how much of the country heard about the Sterling chemical leak that we had back end of September, 23rd of September, I think it was, something like that.
What's that?
That leak that happened, tanker leak.
Anything about it.
Oh, say siren gas or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily that has a flashover point. I looked it up, 83.4 degrees. Luckily that day we had a big cold front come through. It was rainy, it was cloudy, and it was only like 70 degrees out. So it didn't explode. And people had videos where they let it leak for over an hour, hour and a half. And the police and the fire department never showed up until everybody was starting to post it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and everything, saying they're letting this tank leak out some nasty chemical that's killing everything. Then they showed up. I think they were going to let it get warm enough that it would eventually explode. And they had about a dozen of those cars stacked all in the same area. It would have wiped out the whole west side of Cincinnati if it blew.
Hmm.
Luckily, we went from 90 degrees down to low 70 degrees for a couple days.
I don't know. They arrested somebody down there in North Carolina. He was getting after a FEMA.
Oh yeah, saw
Yeah.
that.
Not sure whether or not what that was all about. Something about a militia or whatever, which that didn't quite make sense. I know I watched one of the homesteader folks. They went down there. They were close by. they showed that area where the artisans were, and I think I've been there once, and it was like a tobacco barn, really wide, and they showed pictures pretty. Well, the water was up to the roof line,
Yeah.
and so anyway, some of them had like block walls, and they just pushed the block walls right out from underneath of it. Now they did have steel girders going up to hold the purlins and stuff, and to hold the building up. And like the guy said, they say the mud is toxic. It gets on your skin. It starts irritating your skin. And I don't know. Sound like to me they're going to bulldoze everything down there pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what's in that water, that mud? I mean,
Well, it's pretty much everything destroyed for the most part. And
right. And it's all in that mud. Chemicals, you name it. I mean, that one hospital, I don't know what the name of that hospital was that was in town, was almost up, it was up to almost up to the roof.
mm-hmm.
And who knows what kind of chemicals they had in that hospital.
Well, down there at Biltmore area, it was about 13 foot. The water was about 13 feet deep.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, what I was getting at is that they are, getting electricity back slowly, and they are repairing, roadways as best as they can to kind of get some mobility going.
Right. Or at least patching them.
The biggest thing that they really need, the one person was making bread for everybody, and water was one of the biggest issues, and electric.
Yeah. And now they need coats because it's getting cold. People up in the mountains. They need blankets, they need coats, boots, all that basic stuff that got all destroyed.
Yeah, they showed the table there for like baby stuff, and they were saying they had a tote there with water, and they were going through 2 totes a day or something. Now it's kind of slowed down since people kind of got, a little bit of a handle on things.
Right. People's getting their own wells up and running and sharing the water with the neighbors.
Well, I think a lot of it is where if they were on a city water system and stuff like that.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
But all those people up in the mountains, I don't think they're on city water. I think most of those are on wells.
They are. But actually, a friend of mine moved down there around Floyd, actually met us at Dan, and they were talking about it. I don't know, Bill, you might know more about it than I do. Something about that some areas where there is no water, even up on the mountains, that they have to truck water in.
Yeah, they're either trucking it in. Most of the springs down there are contaminated. Most of the wells are contaminated. So they're bringing water in.
So anyway, it's just
The people on it that have wells, if their area wasn't affected, they could still be affected by the water because of the groundwater infiltration.
Right.
one thing is somebody took notice, or I guess it was Ricky was talking about, because he's right in there next to Boone, is that all the silt and stuff that was in the creeks and the rivers and stuff, it's all gone. It's been washed out, and everything's down to bedrock. Anything left in there is just pure rock.
Yep.
Yeah. Or the creek is moved pretty far. So, I mean, pretty far. I thought it was funny on I-40. There was one guy that was on there and says, right where I-40 is where the creek used to be, and the Corps of Engineers moved it about 50 yards to the one side so you could put the I-90 in. Well, guess where the creek is now? Back where I-90 was.
Yeah.
It just went back. Mother Nature just put it back where it was. It's like, why not keep the creek where it is and move the expressway while they were building it?
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't make any sense to me because Mother Nature eventually is going to go back to where it was.
Well, I think that's kind of like down there in Louisiana, or what is it? The dikes, down in Burp, down through Mobile, Louisiana, or wherever it is down
Oh
there.
yeah.
They break and then they flood the city. Well, they're trying to hold the water up in like a canal almost.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Mother Nature will reclaim it someday.
Yes, she will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Around where I live, you're not allowed to build in any of the floodplains. And wherever that is, some of it's a pretty big area. The only exception to that is actually downtown Cincinnati. Cincinnati is actually built on a floodplain. But out where I live, that's where all the softball fields are and the golf courses are and stuff like that. Homes. Yeah. But yeah, not much bee talk today after my little treatment thing. Charlie ran out of popcorn.
Yeah, you did.
Let's go get another bag.
Yep.
Nah, get something to drink.
He had to wash down the popcorn. Yeah.
So Nancy, have you put your bees to bed up in Pennsylvania yet?
I know she's been feeding and treating.
Yep.
Yeah, due to my schedule and my knee stuff issue, I couldn't do enough washes test beforehand and afterwards to get good test data. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough hives that had enough mites in it to have a good hives to test.
Well,
I can send you a couple.
I know. I just need to do a better job dedicating some hives for it.
Only problem is I don't think UPS will pick them up.
But I don't treat.
I don't know. Do you do a lot of testing, Bill, at all? Or
I do some. Like, I test products that I sell, like these apis tablets. I've got a couple of people that'll test them for me. I'll test them. So that way, if somebody asks me, yes, I've tested them. Here's the results I got. Um, you know,
do you
and
do a lot of
form their
washes
own
or stuff
opinion.
like that?
Huh?
Do a lot of washes?
Yeah.
No. I do it once in a while. I don't know. I should do it more often, but
For my test hives, I wanted to do it beforehand and afterwards.
yeah, if I was doing something like that, I don't know. I just I don't know. I'm always seem to be in a I got stuff to do, and it's like
Well, I work 40
Yeah.
hours a week, then I run 40, 50, 60 hives, 60
I
at
don't
no
I
I
don't
have no time.
I don't have time with I'm downsizing instead of upsizing so I can do better.
Right. I mean, I'll have my 21 to 24 production hives, and I'll have anywhere from 20 to 40 nukes in some process during the spring and summer. Or I'll be drafting, putting virgins in nukes that I just made up.
Well, I say I expanded my honey production, reduced my nuke production, and I want to go back to queen rearing this coming spring. Kind of focus in on that, and I guess I found that honey production, you don't have to. You go from April to to let's say June or 4th of July, somewhere around that,
Right.
and after that, it usually, um, you know, working the 10 framers are over with, or at least that's what I kind of observed. And then with the nukes, I use them as more of a resource size now.
Right.
Now what I'm going to do, as far as stocking 2-frame mating boxes and stocking cell builder, I want to get that up and running a little bit quicker this year, and things like that. And I don't know. There's a queenless. I know Bill knows there's a queenless cell builder, and then there's the queen white. What's it called? Where it's got the queen there on the top end of the hive.
Queen right cell builder.
Yeah. I've got a double screen bottom board for that, and I've never used it. And I don't know. Obviously, I've seen some videos where they put the queen upstairs and they put everything downstairs, all the nurse bees and stuff like that.
The only problem with doing that, if you put the queen above it, you got to tear the whole hive apart to drop cells.
Yeah, all I do, Charlie, is put a queen. I take the top box off and put a queen excluder on it, make sure the queen's down there, and then put my cells in the top box.
That's exactly what we do.
All the nurse bees will come up.
Yep, that's what we do.
So you put a queen excluder, but they don't think they're queenless, so they're not going to make cells unless you put a double queen.
The cells are already made. They're already starting in your cell builder. They're finishing.
He's putting them in a finisher.
Yeah, that's putting them in a finisher.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get efficient cell builder.
Oh, yeah, that's the first thing.
An efficient.
Right.
The cell builder is queenless. Because if you don't do it queenless, the nurse bees aren't going to come up.
Yeah.
They're going to stay down with the queen.
Yeah.
Do it queenless, they'll come up, build the cells, take care of them until they're capped, and then you take them out, and we either put them in a mating nuke or we put them in an incubator.
Well, I put them in an incubator.
Yeah.
And then I cage them, and then I let them hatch, and then I put them in a cell or 2-frame mating box, walk them in. But I seen where Bob Benny did a thing where, like you say, you tore the hive apart, where you made sure all the cap brood or open brood or whatever, well, everything upstairs, and you kept all the nurse bees and stuff downstairs, and you maybe put a frame of eggs or something to keep them down there, and then it's kind of like having a cloak board.
Yeah. But
it cuts off the queen pheromones, so they'll build the cells.
Right.
But I haven't quite figured that one out yet.
And if you run a queenless cell builder, you have to stock it with brood. So you always have nurse bees, and you always have to check it for swarm cells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have to pull bees out.
So what I do, Charlie, I got a 6-frame box that I use just for grafting for my cell builder. I'll go ahead and pull 3 frames of solid cap brick frames, and the darker ones, the ones where I know those bees are about ready to come out, if they're not already coming out. And then I'll put 2 pollen frames in that's got some honey on it, which they usually do. And then I'll put a third, either a pollen frame or a blank frame in, right in the center. Then I'll wait, since I work for a living, I'll do that on a Saturday. And then on the following Saturday, I'll go into those 3 brood frames I got marked. I put a bee on them, and I'll check them for cells, if there was any eggs or larvae usually on the outside. And if there's any cells in there, I'll destroy them. then that afternoon, I usually do that in the morning. Then that afternoon, I'll graft and put that graft frame right in that empty one that's right in the center. But usually that'll give me right when I start there, I'll have basically 5 to 6 frames of bees. Those bees will emerge out during that week. So now I have 8 frames of bees in that 6 frame box and a lot of nurse bees. And then I'll go ahead and shake a couple more frames of nurse bees in it right before I do the graft. When I go to check for
Shake
swarm cells, I'll put a couple more frames. So I'll have 10 frames of bees in that 6 frame box. And there'll be bearding on the outside, and then I'll stick the frame, then I'll graft and put that frame in.
Yeah. Yeah, DC, I'll get up there one day. I guess maybe we'll plan something for next summer. I'll get up to Nancy's yard.
I used to do a 10 frame box or an 8 frame box, and it just takes more resources. You got to shake in more bees. And I found out I can do a frame of 50 cells where they're built out, all of them. I don't make any mistakes when I have 8-9 frames of bees in that 6 frame box.
I thought I was going to try to do a 6-framer, but then everything else is different, you know. So I've done 5-frame over the years, and my biggest problem is getting the population right. And I think a lot of it on my part is planning. Is that you need to plan a week, or like you say, you plan to get your cell builder box prepped. I'll say at least a week in advance.
Yeah, you need 6 days.
Yeah,
I was going to say 7 to 10, maybe even 14 days in advance. You need to do your cell builder.
Yeah, I've had some friends of mine say, you know, fill that box full of brood and 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
And all that. And then like Bob and them down there, they'll set up a ramp like I do on that last video of mine, and then go around and shake bees that they consider mostly nurse bees and let them walk up into that hive. And that'll even, you know, make it even a more condensed hive of bees.
Right.
And put your graft down in there.
You basically want to make your box with so many bees in it, there's too many bees in it.
So that's what that's I think was my biggest problem was in the past is I didn't prepare the cell builder in advance correctly. That's why I want to go down there and watch Bill do his.
Yeah, you basically want to turn that box into a box that they want to swarm because you got so many bees in it.
Yeah,
so
that's why you have to.
But, you know, you say that, but the thing of it is, for me, is that explain how you get to that point. That's the key for people to learn. You have to tell them how to get from point A to point B in order to acquire that goal.
Because you're setting up a queenless hive is what you're doing.
Yes.
And when you pull those frames of brood, if you have an egg or something like that hiding in a corner somewhere, and you put that frame of brood what you think is fully capped brood in there, and there happens to be an egg, that's why you have to go back before you drop your graft in there to make sure there's no queen cells in there whatsoever, because if there is, you got to kill them.
Yeah, I know that because I always say, if you put, let's say you put 5 frames of cat brood in there with bees, you want to go back 4 days later and shake all the bees off, and then check those frames closely, because like you say, they'll put a cell in there.
It's kind of like setting up a Demarest split, Charlie. 7 days. If you don't have any queen cells in 7 days, you're not going to. After you move that brood over there, if you think you got fully capped brood, and you move that brood into that cell builder, and you come back 7 days later and there's no queen cells, you're good. It's like a Demarest split. You know, you make the split, and you come back 7 days later to that top box and kill all your queen cells that you find. So I liken it to that, but you're doing the same thing. But you don't.
And when you check for shit cells, make sure you shake all those bees off because
Yes.
you'll miss them if you don't. Because
Yep.
there'll be 2 or 3 rows of bees on those frames
Yep.
because there's just so many bees in the box.
Well, the biggest thing is like what I've learned is like I go back to my queen excluder. Go into your cell, into your nukes that are come springtime that are busting with bees and brood. Shake all those bees off those cat brood frames. Make a box, put a queen excluder down, and put that right up on top of that nuke. All your nurse bees are going to go right up there, so you know you got nurse bees. You know you haven't got the queen. It makes everything so much easier and everything.
Hey, Bill, you leave on your queen starter. Do you keep it open or closed for the bees to go in and out?
Hmm.
The first 4 days or 3 days.
I'd say the first 5 days it's closed.
Okay, I do 3 days. I thought they would go maybe a couple days longer.
Yeah, but we make sure we've got some stores in there for them too.
Well, that's why I put 2 frames of pollen in there because they need a lot of pollen to make
Yep.
to
They need
make
a
those
lot of
cells.
pollen. You need more.
Yeah,
In a cell builder, you need more pollen than you need honey.
right. That's why I do at least 3. I do 3 brood, cap brood, 2 pollen, and then 1 blank in the center. And
Yeah.
then I'll put a bucket of sugar water, 1-to-1 sugar water on top of them
Yep.
to feed any nectar that they might need, sugar. I don't worry too much about on the honey side. There'll be honey on the pollen frames. That's all they
Well,
need for.
when you say honey, you really want to say nectar.
True.
You don't want cat honey in your
No,
cell.
you don't.
You want
No.
nectar.
You want nectar.
Yeah,
They're going to need to make bee bread and royal jelly.
yeah, right.
All right, you were saying keeping them closed. What do you mean? Talking about not?
Don't let any bees out.
Don't let any bees out because there is a slight risk, and I had it happen to me when I first started doing that. A virgin queen will fly in.
Yeah.
Somehow they know. I don't know how the queens know it, but somehow they find those ones where there's no queen in them.
Yeah, it's like a big flashing light. Queenless, 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 queenless.
Yeah. And then they won't make any cells up because they got a queen.
Yep.
So I learned that the hard way a few years back.
Yeah, I've had that problem too. I think a lot of it for me was that I didn't catch that queen cell that they built in the corner someplace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Waiting 7 days kind of helps because by then they're capped. They're getting close to being capped. So they're not real small.
should be
So
6
it's easier to see.
capped. Well, you got to look at what is viable for queens too. They're
Yeah.
too old; they won't make queens.
Right. 6 days. Typically, an egg is 3 days, and then a 3-day-old larvae. After that 3rd day, they can't make they might make a queen out of it, but it won't be a good queen.
Mm-hmm.
I think 3-day larvae is it. That's
Well,
what I've read.
this is something I've thought about, and I've heard some other folks talk about. We were talking about double screen bottom boards, and I got one for a nuke. If I pull a box of solid 5 frames of solid, cat brood, and you know how it is in the springtime, you're getting set up close to May, but there's always that yo-yo effect of cold nights and stuff like that.
Yep.
I'm thinking about, might be the best thing to do is put the queen excluder on, let all them nurse bees come up there within an hour. I mean, I've seen that happen. The hour.
Yep.
Nurse bees are all up on top of that brood. Then if I put a double screen bottom underneath that thing, then they got the heat of the hive below.
Plus those nurse bees, they'll keep that brood warm enough.
Charlie, you're ever thinking now?
Huh?
You're ever thinking a little bit?
He's thinking the right way though.
Yeah, he is.
Well, what I'm getting at is you get it late April, early May, you'll have a 70-degree day and a 40-degree night, and that's not good. If they have,
Well, let me explain something to you. I graft in the third week of March, and my temperature is the same as yours or close to it. And
yeah,
it might even go down to 20 degrees. But when you got that many bees in a box, you don't have to worry about them getting cold, getting that brood cold.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
You actually almost have to worry just the opposite. You have to actually vent them a little bit to get some of that heat out because they will cook.
When you graft like that, where are you grafting at?
What am I grafting at? What do you mean?
Are you grafting in your car or underneath a heat lamp?
I go inside my honey room that I heat in my barn.
Do you
So
wrap your warm towel around your frame to get it in the house?
yeah, going in and going out. If it's cold out or cool out.
I would
Yeah.
say that's awfully early. I would say by the, I'm looking at maybe starting this cell builder, let's say around the 15th of April.
Wow.
Things are a little bit settled in a little bit, but nights can be, I've had it where I didn't have enough bees in there and they chilled the brood and all that stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, if I can bring, like I say, I have 5 frames of brood and bring the nurse bees up to the queen excluder and they're packed in there, and then put a double screen in there, I could, I think actually, with a double screen like that, I could graft and put my graft into that nuke box up on top of a nuke. And you got heat on the bottom, and they can't, and the queen, and there can't be no, as long as you shake all your bees off about, putting, when you're if you have an open bottom, or like you said, the queen, a virgin queen can come back that's made it and come back and mess up your cell builder. But if you got a queen right hive on the bottom and you got the heat with a double screen board and those nurse bees up top, they don't really need to go out. I don't think, do they, Bill? As far as if you have them completely enclosed?
No, because you can force them to stay nurse bees for a little bit longer if you don't have a way for them to get out.
I mean, I got a double screen it. It's like a Snell growth board where I got them little wedges that you turn, stuff like that. I can put a wedge on the side, or make it, come out the side or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at early, once you get into May when the weather settles in, then you can do something different, but all that. So I know I've had it where I put a queen excluder on the bottom board. So queens can't come back and fly in there to contaminate my cell builder. But then you have your drones are locked up. You have that problem. So, 6 one, half dozen the other. So a lot of different ideas and ways. I guess that's one of my experiments that I'll have to do in the springtime.
When I first started grafting, I did it Bob Beanie's way. But to me, that was too many resources. I didn't have enough hives and I didn't have enough resources.
I've always used a 5-frame box because I can put 30 cells in a 5-frame box. If it's populated, I don't have a problem with that.
No, 5 frames is plenty for that. If you want to do 50, 60 cells, you need a little bit bigger box.
I don't want to do that many at one time.
I do about 30 at a time.
You start dropping 85, 90, 100 cells at a time.
Yeah, 2 frames of 45.
Yep.
Then you need 10 frame boxes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not, I got enough to do. I think I got 30 mating boxes out there.
I do a late March graft for my end of April nukes. And then in April, I'll do another graft for the mid-May nukes. and then I graft again in June for myself to replace all my queens in my production hives, and then set up all my nukes.
How often
So
do
I
your
actually will do a
queens?
double. I'll do a big graft in June. Get those summer solstice queens. That's typically my schedule.
Yeah, tight train. I forgot about that. You got to have drones for this whole
Yep,
thing.
you
This
do.
whole operation to start.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's why I wait till about the end of March, the last week of March, because by the end of April, when the queens are flying to get mated, um, there's plenty of drones by then.
Yeah. So, but no, that's like I say. I can pull up brood above a queen excluder on my nukes, and then they can populate with nurse bees. So I know I got nurse bees. I know I don't have a queen up there, and I can actually directly shake bees into a cell builder box like that. And then also, um, I can use, in the beginning, in the early spring, I could use a double screen board to keep the heat, keep that everything warmed up.
Right. Yeah, so you got to put in account when you
Made up
grab.
April the 19th and all that split. Yeah, the splits are fine, but
Yeah,
working queens is a little different. It's a little bit different
it is. It's a
animal.
totally different ball game.
Right.
Trying to get them to make cells and feed, and something that I also do. I know one guy up in another club I belong to, he took pollen powder, like Man Lake pollen powder, made a slurry out of it, used some of like Pro Sweet in there. That's what I use. Mix it to where it's really super thick pancake batter. And then
Yep.
I would drizzle it across the top bars of the frames right above where the graph bar is, right on top of the graph bar, and the darn bees would come up there like a bunch of pigs and just suck it down. I don't know whether it's because of the Pro Sweet or because of the pollen patty thing. And I also have pollen frames in there, and it seems like that they did. I think the number one thing is if you got to have the right amount of nurse bees, and I forget.
Yep.
It was like, what was it, like 300 nurse bees per cell to feed it properly or something like that.
It's somewhere in that number.
I heard
Yeah.
somebody's experiment calculate something like that out and all. Yeah, okay. Matt's got swarm cells. We'll see. They've already did the work.
Yeah, usually by the third week of April, we're into swarm season. So the bees already know that it's time to make cells. So when they go ahead and have cap cells at the third week of April, the end of April, those bees are already in swarm mode 2 weeks ahead of that, 3 weeks
Yep.
ahead of that. So I just try to mirror themselves. So, but if it's cold the last week of March, I'll wait till the first week of April. But typically by the end of March, it's good enough weather that I can graft. There'll be a 60-degree day.
But when you start breeding queens, and I mean breeding a lot of queens for sale, to sell, it is a full-time job.
Oh yeah.
You've got
I mean,
to.
for like Matt and DC there, I mean, doing splits and you're utilizing a swarm cell, that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
That's a viable queen right there.
Yep, it is. And it's
The
a
only
very
difference
viable queen. As long as she's not too far down the genetic line, she's a very viable queen. But you got to keep in mind that, like myself and what we do, we breed queens to sell. And when we're breeding queens, that's what we're doing.
Right.
No time for anything else.
The only difference between taking swarm cells out and grafting is that when you're grafting, you get a better chance of selecting genetics that you're seeking for that graft.
Yes.
If you're just taking
long
swarm
as
cells, you're just taking whatever genetics that particular hives or multiple hives are giving you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we've got Caucasians, we've got Carnies, we've got Italians, and we've got those three lines, and they're all Latshaw, but we drop Italians, we drop the Carniolans, and we drop the Caucasians. So, if somebody's grafting full time, somebody's working with the bees full time. So
Are you grafting once a week, Bill, or every week, every day?
it's 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah, every 2 or 3 day, probably.
So
Yep.
you what? At least a dozen cell builders running at one time,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
I know your buddy up there had, what was it? It's kind of a encaged drone congregation area, which is pretty ingenious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you start a cell builder up, you can probably get two sets of grafts in that box before you have to put more nurse bees in again.
Or you have to put new nurse bees in it. And if you catch it in between when you should be putting nurse bees in it, and you put those grafts in it, there's a chance that a lot of them aren't going to take. That's when a lot of your failure rates happen.
Well, now when you say
Take rates,
are you taking all the nurse bees, or are you just continuously adding brood?
continuously adding and rotating out.
Yeah, just adding.
Adding. And then the bees where they've hatched out, you pull those frames and you put a new frame right back in its place.
Yeah, because about like Bill said, I did 3 days or 5 days. You open that box back up, so all the older bees are flying in and out anyway.
Yeah.
In between that process, but as soon as you graft again, you're closing it right back up.
Yeah, because if you don't watch out, where your older bees are flying out foraging, they're coming back and packing that brood frame full of honey or nectar.
Nectar, pollen.
So now when you pull it out, you got a frame of nectar or pollen, and you're like, well, what am I going to do with this frame?
Right.
Right.
So you got to be on to. Well, I don't know when
There is
it comes
a timetable. You have to stick to that timetable. If you miss
but
it
when you're checking for, let's say, brood hatching, once you put your cell frame in, I normally don't want to mess with them for 4 or 5 days. You might check them the first day, to see what's accepted, but usually I try not to fool with them for 6 days.
Yeah, we wait 3 days after we drop them.
Yes.
And then see what you got.
And then we'll know a take rate.
Right. And then I usually wait till day 6 and pull them out and put them in a cell build or an incubator.
Yeah.
And all that.
Because they should be
I work for a living.
I always grafted. See, what was it? I always grafted on a Wednesday. And so that was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, Wednesday, let's see. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So Monday, if I grabbed it on a Wednesday, they were capped on Monday. And I put them in the incubator.
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday they should have been capped. Should have been checking for a take rate on Friday or Saturday.
And then I don't know what I would do. I would rework the cell builder on Tuesday, or at least that's what I was figuring on doing. Going in there and checking, like you say, brood. A lot of times your brood's going to be hatched.
Yep.
And you need to be. In the meantime, that's where I need to be. That was my problem since I was selling nukes. Is that all my resources were being sold, and I didn't have any. I didn't have resources to stock. So now, since I'm kind of getting out of that, where I'm going to have resources building all the time, that's why I can bring brood frames up to the top, put a queen excluder in, and say, okay, it's no queen. I don't have to worry about looking for a queen. Here's my brood frame, pull it up, bring it over here to the cell builder, put it in the cell builder, pull out that open frame, kind of like you said, Bill, doing a demo, sort of like a a sideways demery.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
Richard got it just right. You either have to write it down, or you need a calendar or a whiteboard.
Right.
well, I used to go up to Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and they had an online cell queen rearing chart. It would tell you day by day by day.
Yeah.
And I mean,
They're still out there.
they were usually off about a day or so, and
Yeah.
on my schedule.
Yeah.
And so then that, for some reason, that they took that down here recently. For some reason, it was terrible. But anyway, I got a chart here that I can use, and I got, that's like people talk about day 9 and all that stuff. And I'm like, I call it day 6. The day I graft is day 1. And 6 days later is when they're going to be capped. And then I said, it's easier for me to remember that it's not, far as mathematics go.
Yes.
Because the first 3 days, it don't really matter. Because you need to go into a hive, and if you see jelly in the cell, but you can't see anything floating around in that cell with your naked eye or with glasses on, like what I got on here, then that's the right cell you want to graft, because when you do put your magnification unit on, you can see it and scoop it up out of there. He says Bell Farms website has one you can use.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, typically, Charlie, when I do my grafting, I'll do a single one, like I said, the end of March. I'll do another one 3 weeks later. So I have to rebuild my cell builder because that's too long of a time. But then when I do graft for myself right around the week before summer solstice or 2 weeks beforehand, I'll do a graft, wait 4 days, pull them out, and put another graft in. And I'll put that first graft into a cell finisher. And by then, I'll have a hive that I know when a good production honey hive, and I'll just sacrifice it to be that. Or my resource hives will work out good for that. And I catch a few swarms to replenish my resource hives.
It's actually under iowabees.com.
Iowa bees.
Yeah, IOWA bees.com.
Yeah.
Under free tools. They've got a walk away split calendar, a grafting date calendar, a post swarm date calendar, a queen cell.
I just do 7-7-7, Saturday. Just because it works.
Saturday for me, I mean, yeah, Saturdays, I don't know. Sometimes Saturday's busy for me.
But next year, I won't have to worry about that because I'll be retired. So I'll be able to graft any day I want.
So you got a grafting date calculator and a queen cell date calculator.
Yeah.
Well, you want to grafting. I'm looking at the grafting calculator. Date to set up cell builder. This is based on Bell's method of creating a cell builder.
You'll find out queens will emerge on 16, 17 days in April, and time you get to June, they'll come out in 15 days.
Yep.
Emerge.
Yeah, we say 15 to 17 days because
temperature, whatever the temperature and
humidity, things like that affects it.
Yeah.
Especially in the spring. If it's cooler, you can figure longer. If it's warm, and when it gets warmer, it's shorter.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't be surprised when you graft in late May, all of a sudden, and you're checking your incubator, and all of a sudden they're all dead because they came out a day earlier. It came out on the 15th day versus the 16th, 17th day. You can control some of that if you put them in incubators. Control that
Yeah,
temperature.
you can control that with incubators, but DC shaving a few days or a week off the production time of new hives, that's going to be hard to do rearing queens out there.
Right.
All right, they got a thing here. It says here, date to set up the cell builder. I just plugged in. Let's see what this is. I'm going to input the day I am going to graft, which will be, let's say, the 23rd of this month. And they're saying, to set the cell builder up on the 9th. So
Yeah,
that's
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And it says here on the 21st, which would be a Monday before my graft, arrange builder with open brood above cloak board, queen below, rotate and seal entrance. So that, insert, slide, and remove all open brood from the upper box, being sure to leave nurse bees open bottom entrance. And then it's the grafting day. So they're using a cloak board method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all that.
Graft on April the 10th. My cell builder should have been set up in March 27th. Call the queen cells on the 31st, which they're giving it 4 days. And then I should go back on the 4th of April and call queen cells. Yeah, they're using cloak board here too.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to. That's something that we'll have to develop like you said, about 14 days to set that cell builder up to get all the right amount of nurse bees and stuff. Well, it's a little after 10, Bill. I guess it's bedtime, isn't it?
Yeah, it's bedtime. I gotta get up.
I didn't realize it was that late.
Yeah.
That's about 5 after, 7 after, it says.
So I am planning on doing an in-person class as well as a video on setting up the cell builder.
Well, that'd be good.
So, not sure of the date yet, but it's going to happen.
Well, you got the facilities for sure.
Yep.
And the location. It's a good location and facilities.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, everybody, thank you for coming out tonight and participating, and look forward to seeing you Friday night on Charlie's chat, and then again next Monday on mine. So y'all have a great week and get some rest. I'm sure it's going to be a long day at work tomorrow. Night, everybody.
Night.
Night. Have a good one.